Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gland Bodybuilding Mountain. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about, well, something that plagues all of us at some point in our life. I mean, we all go through this stage. A lot of you guys are probably going to agree with this emphatically, but what I want to talk about is something called bodybuilding arrogance. Now, there are lots of times where you'll have people in the comments talk about what has worked for them for their training. And sometimes this is because they have gone through many obstacles to find out what that is. And then there's always somebody that will comment and say they've never had a problem, never had an injury, never had an issue, and assume that that automatically means that their way of working out is the perfect way, when they're not taking into account their genetics, their history, like sports history. Like some of us have been injured in certain sports at one point or another, or maybe had things happen like bicycle accidents or mountain biking accidents or, you know, car accidents, whatever. Like all of these things can cause certain obstacles which limit or change the way that you have to respond in your workout program, or what exercises you do, or the weights that you choose, and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is that some people are getting success in their training, and we could say that genetics is part of it. Of course, genetics is part of this whole thing. But the true measure, I'm going to say, of bodybuilding expertise isn't always results, but the results you get through adversity. And people who have never had adversity, and there's a couple guys in my gym that are walking around right now, they haven't really had adversity. They're super young and arrogant, you know, thinking that youth is somehow an accomplishment, right? I was there once too. I was there once, so I'm not even judging here. I'm just saying I was there. But what I'm saying is, if you haven't faced adversity and overcome it through having to change or evolve, you have not really grown in wisdom. And some of you guys here who are tuning into this channel may be discouraged because maybe you see somebody else with better results than you have, or better muscle bellies, or they look better on stage, or whatever it is, or maybe their health is better. But just because their health might look better, if they haven't went through the same adversities you have, are they really more of an expert than you are? Of course not. It's because they haven't had to face the challenges that you've faced, and that's why they are in the situation they're in. But you have grown more in awareness and wisdom and finding out what the right path is through adversity, not just through everything being handed to you on a silver platter. So in this day and age where we are constantly comparing ourselves to everybody, because never have you been able to look in someone's living room window more so than now, right? You know, there's just a constant barrage of people who are better than you, lifting more than you, doing better, you know, all that stuff. I want you to remember that what you face and overcome is a large part of what's going to dictate what your result is going to be. And if the result is not necessarily the same as this person who's had an easy life or that doesn't mean that you aren't somehow wiser or more knowledgeable. So that's a mistake some people make. They'll look at somebody that's never faced adversity, never had any challenges, had everything given to them, and say, oh, that person must be an expert. Well, no, not necessarily. It's a person who overcomes obstacles, adapts, and evolves. And that's why I want to constantly remind you to break your fanatical thinking based on other situations you've been in. And my example of this is this. We have been in certain modes of our training. Maybe we were training when we were 25 years old or 20 years old or a teenager, and found that certain exercises, certain rep ranges, and certain diets worked for us. But at some point, we outgrow that, and the body tells us, sometimes emphatically, that we need to do something differently. Whether it's we need to pay attention more to our diet, to our sleep, maybe we can't lift 1 rep maxes all the time, that sort of thing. There are some obvious teachings that come to you, and you have to follow them, otherwise you experience a consequence. So you evolve and you adapt and you start to listen more to what is happening here in this moment. And this is constantly going on. As you go through this training process, you could be doing it for 40 years and then discover that something you've been doing for a long time that works is no longer appropriate for your situation right now. And this is where you become supremely adaptable. This is where you start to dance with the body and sometimes make some really exciting discoveries about what is health and what is going to help you adapt and recover. But you're going to have to filter out the noise of those saying, no, there's only one rule and you must follow that rule no matter what your body's telling you. And the reason why I want to say to not follow this one rule or this fanatical thinking for everybody, the reason why is because these are the voices of ignorance. They're the voices of the unexperienced or the arrogant. That's really the best way to say it. Because the arrogant people will assume that everybody's exactly the same or like them, and there is no room for negotiation or taking into account people's individual situations. So yeah, don't enslave yourself by these false ideals, but adapt, overcome, and evolve. That's the best thing you can do, and find out where that sweet spot is for you and your training at any one time. So yeah, don't feel bad if you're not exactly on the same level of somebody else. Sometimes you have had different adversity or challenges to deal with, and those challenges have grown you in wisdom more importantly than muscle. So wisdom is the most important thing to gain anyway on this rocket ship called Earth, or whatever you want to call it. That's all I can say to you, you know? So in the end, just keep evolving. Mountain. So I hope this helps you out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgalantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the page supporters, and take care for now. I still think that you probably would do better if you had, wait a second. So you probably wondered why I'm in the woods today. Well, the reason why is because, you know, sales of exercise sticks have gone down somewhat. And, you know, as much as I've said, you know, evolve, adapt, and take your own personal situation into account and don't follow the fanatical rules, I do believe 100% that you have to have an exercise stick. If you don't, you'll never gain muscle and you'll never be healthy. That's pretty much a commandment right there. So yeah, you better order your sticks. It's only, well, this one, only $89,000, $999, you know. I'll give you a deal if you want though. $88,888. That sounds right. Okay, so yeah, just send that money to my website, and then you too can evolve, adapt, grow in wisdom and muscle mass. Mountain.